invitation asked me to discuss what you call, and I quote, ethical insights for achieving excellent results in the workplace, as well as a snapshot of the peculiarities of governance in Lagos State. And I'd like to start there. I think one peculiar thing about governance in Lagos State, at least since 1999, is team building and role switching. And by that, if you look through the Lagos State government profile, especially at the senior level, the leadership at the head of the ministries and the departments and agencies, you will find a streak of continuity there. You will look, for example, and see that between 1999 and now, Lagos State government has had only 2 commissioners for health. That's about 13 years. And the person who is now commissioner for health was actually the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health under the last commissioner. And therefore, it allows you to drive through and reinforce reforms and ideas in a way that those who started it ultimately have a role in sailing through. If you look through the transport sector, in 13 years, we've had 4 commissioners. If you look at economic planning, we've had only 2 commissioners for economic planning and budget in 13 years. In the Ministry of Environment, we've had only 3 in the same period. And of course, in the Ministry of Works, we've had only 3. So for me, that is important because it has also allowed us to switch roles in some of the ministries. And almost everybody now knows the other department like the back of his hand. And people can move seamlessly across. The next lesson is determination and self-belief. Even though it was a legitimate aspiration, it was not common to seek release from the ministry to a law firm like I did. Many people wanted to work in the ministry because invariably there were some other perks. And they still are there, I'm telling you. And those are some of the things we are complaining about now. It was cut the cost of governance. Even some felt that, well, it was better to work in the ministry because you would close early at 3:30 and still go and do a second job. But really, that wasn't what I wanted. I just wanted to be there. And so from that time, I remained in private legal practice from 1989 until 2002 for a period of 13 years. I worked in only 2 firms, Shofunde, Osakwe, Omudipe, and Dagore, and K.O. Tinubu and Company. For those 13 years, I was in the courtroom every day. And those who knew me then will tell you, I lived in the courtroom. From Lagos to Abuja, to Zaria, to Kaduna, to Umuahia, to Benin. I was everywhere. I worked in Shofunde from 1989 to 1993, and then I joined K.O. Tinubu as a partner. Of course, during the period 89 to 93, I did what we call pupillage. The pay wasn't great, but as I told you, I worked out on that man who wasn't nice. This job came at 1,240 naira per month. I was over the moon. I was the richest young lawyer in Lagos in a long time, except those who are in banks. So, and you know what? At the end of each month, I used to save about 500 naira. I was living with my parents. But it was those 500 naira that I bought my first bed, my first video player, and my first kettle, blankets, made my first bed, preparing to leave home. So that's the Nigeria that we grew up. I don't know how many of you can save now. But I learned discipline also during that period. There's something I call the 10,000 hours. There's a body of science that suggests that if you do something for 10,000 hours, you will become an expert. And if you look around us, when you look at people like Messi, David Beckham, and I don't pardon my football examples, I think football is just life. Everything that is missing in life, you will find in soccer. Fashion, competition. Everything that is wrong is expressed in football, and everything that is right is also expressed in football. Games are lost sometimes on human error, competition, struggle to be at the top. So there's so much in it there, and it's only those who spend the 10,000 hours who reach the top. I moved to the part where I became my own boss, and my own employer. I call it on my own. I used to call it Umu, after that famous detergent. It was a way of expressing either that you were self-employed or that you were single and still looking. At that time, I was taking. So, like the first lady. So, I was minding my own business there, trying to build a law firm in Cape Tinubu and Co now as a partner. And sure, for me, the experience was different. I didn't have to go and look for work. They brought the work, I did it. Now, I had to look for the work and I had to get it done. So it was a different ball game. And the reality of set in very quickly. I became responsible for people's salaries. That was new to me. I just got paid for doing my work. Now some people were looking to me for salaries. Junior lawyers, clerks, secretarial staff, security guards that we employed in the firm. Everybody needed to get a check at the end of the month. Whether I got paid or not, didn't matter. But thankfully, we never defaulted in payment. But sometimes we had to borrow money to pay salaries. That was how difficult it was. So for the first 6 months, there were no salaries. My wife supported me at home, ran the house. And I remember my partner used to tell me, today, you know what, we can't fall ill, but we die. Because we don't even have an income. But it's all a good story that has ended, I guess, very well. But the lesson from that, as you take those kind of decisions, you want to set up your own business, you want to be independent, you want to get married, you want to take this turn as against that turn, you are taking an action. Always remember that actions have consequences and you must be prepared to deal with them. In fact, the governor had given me the privilege of advising him on who should succeed him. I sought my opinion as a chief of staff and I said, let's just find 3 of the strongest guys, let's go and do a debate, a retreat, and we'll pick the best 2 or something and give them to the party. And I thought I'd give him very useful advice, but he had his own plans. But it was clear at the time also that whoever got his support would become a very popular candidate, most likely to win the election. Politicians really. And so one morning he said for me, I got to the house and the cook said, Oga said you should come to his room. Now, when you get that early morning call, Oga says come to the room, something is wrong. So immediately I got him, he said, because he had been speaking to me on the telephone that some people said, well, that they are thinking about me to be the governor. I said, me, I must be joking. When I got into his bedroom, he said, As they say, the rest is history. But after that discussion and my acceptance, I took off a week. from work with a copy of the 10-point agenda, which was our economic policy at the time, and a copy of the party's manifesto, and a copy of the Charter of Objectives of the Millennium Development Goals. I locked myself in a room and wrote out in longhand 3 days what I thought should be done in respect of each sector, from environment, roads, education, security. And then I came back to work on the 6th of November 2006. I typed it out, and when I finished, I drafted a resignation letter, which is on top of that manifesto, and I went to his office and dropped it on his desk. Well, he let me go, and of course, immediately announced my resignation in cabinet. All the 10 other candidates resigned the following day. So from then on, I was on the streets. I woke up earlier than 6 a.m. every morning to attend radio and TV shows as other candidates have been doing. I had a lot to catch up on. Very early campaign. We thought 4 local governments, sometimes 3, but there was no day we did less than 2 in one day. Speaking in the sun and not having to drink water. Of course, food was a foregone conclusion in that month. But that was it. Getting home just meant more work. Catch up with the day, plan the next day, read up books, read interviews that other candidates are giving, looking for what they were saying and what I was going to say. I slept barely 3 hours every day. By the end of the campaign, I'd lost almost 10 kilograms. But that document that I wrote out became the article of faith that formed my contract with the Lagosians.